On this episode of What the Gut,
We are the experts in our own body. That client is the expert in their own body. Part of it is teaching them to tune in. What is your body telling you? Where do you want to start? What feels like the path of least resistance? Want this to be a lasting change? I think it feels weird and it feels slow, which I think a lot of people are, I just want you to tell me what to do and I'll do it. And it's like, well, if that were true, I don't know if you'd need a health coach.
You're listening to the What the Gut podcast, where busy moms can come for a holistic approach to health and vitality. I'm Allison, your host, a holistic health and wellness coach. In this space, we'll dive into the intricacies of achieving holistic wellness while balancing the demands of daily life as a busy mom. What the Gut is your haven for navigating the challenges that come with juggling numerous tasks while aiming for a healthier, more balanced life. Join me as we uncover practical solutions to common health hurdles, from managing fatigue to understanding all things gut health. Through insightful discussions, actionable insights, and tailored lifestyle strategies, my goal here is to empower you to embrace a vibrant, nourishing life while saying goodbye to being overwhelmed and exhausted. So if you're ready to embark on this transformative journey towards holistic well-being, hit that subscribe button. Get ready to discover the secrets to thriving in motherhood while nurturing your overall wellness. A quick reminder, everything discussed here is for educational and empowering purposes only and is not intended for personalized medical advice. Consult your personal healthcare provider for personalized medical advice. Welcome to What the Gut, where we create our own path to holistic health, one episode at a time.
in this episode, I get to chat with Carter Hood. She's a functional medicine health coach who currently coaches the Faster Way program. She's passionate about helping women demystify health and wellness and wants to help women feel the absolute best that they can by unlearning what they've been taught by diet culture. Hey, Carter, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. It's so nice outside today. So I'm happy because of that. Welcome to What the Gut. I'm happy to have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
I would love it if you tell our listeners about you and what you do.
Yes. So I am Carter Hood. I am a functional medicine health coach. I did FCMA, which is the Functional Medicine Coaching Academy, which is the Institute for Functional Medicine. It's their coaching academy. A lot of people, when I say that, are like, what is that? So just going ahead and saying what that is off the bat. I'm also a Faster Way coach of about 2.5 years. I live in Jackson, Mississippi. I have 3 boys. My husband's from Mississippi. I'm a Kentuckian.
Nice. I know that you have a background into how you got into health coaching. I would
Mhm.
love to hear your story. We all have a story.
Yes, yes. So I went to Ole Miss and I got a degree in marketing. And then I went to design school after Ole Miss. It was a portfolio school for graphic design and thought I would be a graphic designer. But the Lord just kept leading me back to health and wellness through a very circuitous route. But really and truly, what led me here is I was a dancer. I danced grown up and I danced my first year in college at Ole Miss. Through that, had a very unhealthy view of food because as a dancer, you're in a lot of spandex a lot of the time, or actually very little spandex a lot of the time. I guess that's how I should phrase that. So I just had a very unhealthy relationship with food and had disordered eating well into my adult life, really up until I got pregnant with my first son. And my maternal and paternal grandmothers both developed Alzheimer's and dementia. And that happened throughout college when they were struggling with that. And both of them held on about 10 years. So their bodies were here 10 years longer than their minds were. And it just, if anyone has been through that, if you have experienced that, it's just the most heartbreaking thing to watch. And grandparents are really special people. And my grandmothers were like two of my favorite people. And so it was just like this super disheartening thing to lose them in such a way that they just were there, but they weren't. It really troubled me. That haunted me because I was like, okay, I guess this is my destiny. I have it on both sides. And in the early 2000s, there wasn't the research that we have now. And so it very much felt like this is what is in my genetics, and I will develop Alzheimer's and dementia and be here longer than my mind is. And that was just a really scary thought for me. Not in a selfish way, but just like for my husband and my kids. As in, what is this going to look like later in life? And for me, it had always been like, how little food can I eat to look a certain way? And it always very much felt like it was me versus my body. So when I got pregnant with Trey, my first, is really the first time that it just totally flipped that script. I had been a vegetarian and vegetables disgusted me when I was pregnant. I really was like, I can't believe this, but I really want meat. And you know this as well as I do. Our bodies are really smart. If we pause and listen to them, they're going to tell us what they need, or they're going to show us what they need with symptoms. And so for me, it was just, okay, how do I grow this human? How do I nurture my body in a way that really is going to nurture him? So I started really looking at food in a different way. At the same time, started researching and leaning into more looking at toxins in our everyday products and things in our home, and kind of started to click for me that this was my passion. And now here in 2024, we have so much research that shows Alzheimer's and dementia is preventable to a certain extent. I think we'll continue to see that it really is preventable through diet and lifestyle. I worked for a ministry for a while when I had my kiddos because I love people. I worked with teenagers. And I was on Young Life staff. When I went off of Young Life staff, I kind of had this moment of like, what do I want to do? All roads were pointing to health and wellness. So our friend Lee Galt was actually the one that kind of pushed me over the edge and was like, no, you go to school. Like, you do this. I was like, people can just Google what they need to know, right? And she's like, no, they can't. I
They
really was like,
they
I know.
they could to an extent, but sometimes you don't know the questions to Google, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think everybody knows it's like depends on who's writing the article, and I think that we have to be advocates for ourselves, whether we wanna be researchers or not. If something's going on, we have to be able to research it and check different sources, not just like this one blog said XYZ, but checking several sources to see what the truth of the matter is.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think too, having a coach does a lot more than Google. You've got that support and you've got that advocate for you, and almost like the person that already did all the research for you, because you can compile and tell them, oh, this is what I've gathered from all this information. So that's always easier, in my opinion. I think that some people are so overwhelmed by all the other information out there. They just don't know what's reputable or what's not. So,
Yeah, and my husband says this all the time. He's like, "Oh, in 5 years, that'll be wrong. Like, avocados will be unhealthy." He always is like, "Yeah, well, I'll just wait for that to be the opposite."
oh my
And,
goodness.
I think he's right in a way. I think we've gotten it wrong as a culture in the US a lot with nutrition. It's confusing for a person that doesn't know anything about health and nutrition. It says on the box that Cheerios are good for cholesterol. So why would they lie to me? And it's like, well,
Yeah.
that's not true.
But you went to school for marketing and it's a marketing tactic. So,
Yeah, it's called greenwashing. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So, how long were you a vegetarian?
I started in high school,
Okay.
and really it was because it was just complete youth. Just I was like, I wanna be a teeny tiny dancer and meat will make you fat. And so in my mind, I just was like, meat's gonna make me fat and I'm not gonna eat it. And
Yeah.
that was just my teenage brain. And then I think I just carried that throughout really, yeah, until adulthood.
So, what was that like transitioning from being a vegetarian to not anymore?
It was weird because the people at the time in the books that I was reading, they were all vegetarians, very much meat is not good. I think I just really got to a point I would walk the aisles at the grocery and just be like, this all disgusts me. Like, I don't want any of it. I would go to Whole Foods and make a big box of big salad, and I would get home and take a bite and would just be like, bleh, I don't want this. So when I ate, I truly called my husband and was like, I need you to bring home a filet. And he's like, this is a trap and I'm not doing it. But I ate it and I was like, I feel great. And I think at the time I was much more focused on growing the baby. healthy. And so then I kind of started to shift into like, well, what does prenatal nutrition say? And what do growing babies need to be healthy? I was so focused on him that I wasn't even really thinking about how do I feel about eating meat. It took me a while. Ground meat freaked me out for a while. It's been an evolution for sure. There are a few meats that I'm still like, I don't know, but I'm team meat now.
Yeah, that's interesting. So my first bachelor's degree is in visual art, and I was a art major, always wanted to be an artist. That's what I did. And then I graduated, I was a freelance artist, and the Lord was like, go back to school for something in the medical field. And I was like, okay, literally I don't like science, but it's wild how your life does a complete 360 and how pregnancy influences that because every time I was pregnant, it was just a new revelation of some sort with my health. It's not something typical I would have thought I would have been doing.
I think being pregnant 3 times over, you can't question how God designed this. I mean, you can because I'm like, how did he design this in such an intricate way?
Yeah,
So,
for sure. So I wanted to ask you, what are some things that women can do today to improve their health? I know that's such a big question.
mhm. So my school was a year long, functional medicine coaching academy. It was a year. And I think the thing that surprised me the most and the least was that each module was set up like hormones, cardiometabolic, autoimmune. Every single module, it came back to what are you putting in your mouth? And it just every time I'm like, "Uh, it's so simple and yet it's so hard, you know?" So I think the thing that I would encourage anyone to start with is control what you can control. We all have budgetary limits. We have limits of what's available with groceries nearby and all of those things. But good, better, best. Can you afford organic meat and then get everything else conventional? Are you eating processed foods very few times a week? Whole food nutrition is what somebody can do today. I think movement is a huge piece of overall health, and it doesn't have to be CrossFit class. It can be just going on a walk. Are you moving more than you're sitting? Sitting is the new smoking. We sit so often, and I think COVID even exacerbated that because we
Yeah,
were so limited, and it was like, just stay at home in your little pocket, and it's like we were meant to move. So it can be walking, it can be vacuuming in your house, it can just be going up and down the stairs, but are you moving more than you're sitting, and is your plate made of more whole foods and less of things that come out of a box? I think would move the needle in a tremendous way.
for sure. I agree. I find myself saying all of those things daily to people too. So, yes, I
Yeah.
completely agree. I love how you said that you're passionate about helping women and you want to help them feel the best they can by unlearning what they've been taught in diet culture. With any of your clients, what do you feel is like the biggest thing that you're having to help them unlearn?
Yeah. The biggest thing, I have not yet had one female client who eats enough protein. I know there are people that are vegetarian and pescatarian. It does not have to be meat, but there's protein from other sources, but
It's
not
harder though.
yeah, it's harder. It is. And my stance is, are you getting the full amino acid profile that you need? But yeah, I haven't coached a woman yet that's getting enough protein. Depending on where everyone starts, that's a sliding scale. But no client of mine starts below 100 grams of protein per day, yeah.
Yeah.
And it shocks a lot of them because they're like, "This feels like so much food." And I'm like, "I know, you have to eat to fuel your body." I was born in '85. We were just taught calories in, calories out. You've gotta eat less, and that is true to an extent. However, we burn calories just by existing.
Right.
Are you taking that into consideration? In Faster Way, we focus on macros, so fats, proteins, and carbs. So we set them up to have a number to hit for all of those categories. They get a fiber goal as well. I think the thing that they have to unlearn is it's okay to eat this much food. And if you are eating it in the right amount in proportion to your body and your goals, you will not gain weight. You will probably lose weight. So,
Some reverse dieting. Yeah, I can speak to that too, actually. whenever I first was starting really to heal my gut and look into that, my background is in nursing. So that's kind of what I was always taught in school. But we didn't focus on nutrition. Like there's just a small portion of that, right? So the macros and like the importance of certain things, proteins, carbs, fats, it just wasn't emphasized like other things were in school. So I didn't really know it enough. Whenever I started really looking into my own health and working on healing my gut, I was like, okay, this is so much food. This is a lot. I
Mhm.
don't know if I'm going to be able to eat all this. I wasn't ever really restricting food, but I did find that the more food I ate, the higher quality and the right macros for me, I did
Mhm.
lose weight.
Right.
And losing weight, it wasn't even my primary goal. I was like, if it happens, it happens. That's great. But that wasn't my number one thing. I remember being blown away by that. I wish that that's the kind of stuff that they taught you in seventh grade science.
I know. I was on Young Life staff and I loved every second of it. So I want to find a way, whether it's like a program where I can go speak in schools, and I have not figured out how this is going to work. But as females specifically, we were taught nothing about how to manage our bodies, how to manage our menstrual cycles. We were taught this is going to happen to you. Here's how you maintain it.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to it. A lot of being a woman feels like a mystery. And we shouldn't feel like we're walking around in the dark. We should know what's going on in our own bodies. I'm like, that should be taught in health class. These are the phases of your cycle, and this is how you're going to feel, and this is what your hormones are doing. I feel like that should be common knowledge.
Yeah. I've thought of that so many times. They just really need to teach this in school. It is our responsibility as parents, but when it's not talked about in school too, it's almost like it's a taboo thing.
Sure, you can't say menstrual cycle in school. Like, ooh, turn that page really fast. Like,
Right.
and I think that's, again, the short straw that we've drawn as women. It shouldn't feel taboo to talk about things that are basic functions of how we were created. I hope at some point in the next year or so to have some sort of something that I could take to groups of teenagers and be like, if you want to learn about it, some may not, and that's totally fine. Teaching them the basics. So it's like, okay, this is why I feel this way on this day.
I think that would be awesome. So you lived in Kentucky and then moved to Mississippi for college and have been here since.
Almost. So
Okay.
from Kentucky to Ole Miss, and then I did grad school in Atlanta,
Okay.
and I met my husband, but we did not date. So I was just on an art journey. I moved to Houston to work for a wedding planner because I thought that would be the perfect combination of design and people. I love pretty things. I love art. I love graphic design, but I love people. So being with a computer all day, I was like, I feel nuts.
Yeah.
So I thought I would love working for a wedding planner. It was fun. It was not my calling. Then I moved to Nashville to work for a print shop. And then I moved to Greensboro, Alabama to work for a nonprofit that works with teenagers. It was called Youth Build. We helped at risk teens get job training and get their GED. I was the hospitality teacher, but what we did is we had a garden and there was a restaurant in the town where they got to work. We would even go to the grocery and teaching them how to find broccoli and about foods that don't come from a package. The restaurant was called Pie Lab. They got to learn applicable skills there. It was a really fun job.
Yeah. Is
Things
there anything specifically about Mississippi that surprises you whenever it comes to health and wellness?
No, nothing surprises me. I
At
think
this point.
at this point, working with those kids in Alabama was super eye-opening for me, and I feel like Alabama is so similar to Jackson, as far as demographics go. It just was sad that when I was like, "Go find broccoli," they couldn't. They were like, "We don't know what that is this broccoli?" And I'd be like, "Show me what you get when you come in the grocery." And it would be like the little bug juice. And I can't even think of the name of this meat that they would buy. It was like horse hoof. I mean, it was like wild. I was like, no, we're not buying this. So the thing, especially now with inflation being where it is and just the cost of living is expensive. And I know that fresh food is more expensive than processed, which is super unfortunate. And so I don't blame people that don't have an education there to lean toward what's affordable because you've got to make do with what you have. I wish that there was a magic wand we could wave to make that different. Unfortunately, I feel like food insecurity is bigger than we think it is. And I think it's only going to get bigger if the cost of things don't start to go down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, nothing surprises me. I hope that as a state, we can continue to take steps forward, but that is a web of things.
Yeah,
What
for
I'm trying to
sure.
say there, but I don't know. I'd love to help people. I don't want to get into politics.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I'm just curious. Whenever you have a client with your faster way program, I know that you do macros. So you help them figure out their own macros based on their goals.
Mhm. So it's a 6 week when they sign up for a round, it's a 6 week round. And that first week, we call it prep week, where we teach them the core components. And so the core components are intermittent fasting, carb cycling, macros, movement, exercise, rest, and whole food nutrition. And I encourage my clients to go gluten and dairy free for the 6 weeks. A lot of them, especially here in the South, are like, what will I eat? So I encourage them to do that if they want to. I'm more than willing to help them navigate what that looks like. But we encourage whole food nutrition. So if it comes from the ground or has a mother, it's fair game. For
Right.
a lot of people, that's pretty atypical than the standard American diet. Having those macros as a framework, like this is the goal they're working towards every day with protein, fats, carbs, and fiber. A lot of them just feel so much better and the energy and as you know, gut health, all of those things kind of click into place when you focus on whole foods. I started coaching Faster Way kind of as like, do I even really want to be a health coach or do I just like to know this stuff for my own knowledge? Like, is this just fun for me?
Yeah.
I love people. So I do love coaching and it's sustainable. It teaches them how to eat. It's not something that's telling them, like, okay, buy this packaged bar and eat it. Like, we're teaching them how to eat real food, move, sleep, take care of their bodies. It really is a great program for somebody that's like, I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you ever have people who do it more than once?
yeah. So they can do the 6 week round and then they can roll into what's called VIP, which is a monthly membership. So a lot of clients I've had for years, and they just are like, I love this. In our app, you get the workouts, and the trainers for the Faster Way they're truly some of the best humans I've ever met. They program the Faster Way for a whole year. It's not a rinse and repeat with workouts. Like it's a strategic progressive overload. In January, we start out strong. Right now, we're doing a focus on glutes. And then when we get into the holidays, we don't coast, but we kind of pull back the programming a little bit because everybody's busy in the holidays. But they are so thoughtful behind the why of how they program our workouts. So a lot of clients stay for the workouts because they really are great. And they're all 30 minutes. And I mean, as busy people, it's like, you can't beat that. So,
Yeah. I'm all for the 30-minute workouts.
yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. So, Carter, some of my listeners have been tuning into my podcast for a while and are very familiar with functional medicine. While some might be tuning in today for the first time, I would love for you to explain what functional medicine is and why it's so powerful in your opinion.
So with functional medicine, I think the thing that people are so curious about is like, what is it? And functional medicine and what we were taught as functional medicine health coaches. So I'm a coach, I'm not a practitioner. So any client that comes to me and it's like, I want to work on X, depending on what X is, we may need to pull in someone to be the practitioner to prescribe. And then what I do is basically am the facilitator. So, with functional medicine, this kind of throws people at the beginning, but it is very client focused. It's a client centered process. And so, for a lot of people, when they sign up for a program or sign up to be coached or go to a doctor, we're so used to our American model of this is what's wrong with me. The doctor writes a prescription, hands you a slip of paper, and you're supposed to just go do it. If that worked, we'd be in a different spot. With functional medicine, I can step in and say, okay, this is what Allison told you to do. And whether it's a nutrition piece, a medicine piece, whatever it is, where do you want to start as the client? And it puts them in the driver's seat, which I think is very off-putting a little bit at the beginning. They're like, "No, no, 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 you tell me what to do." And I'm like, "Well, that's not how this works." Because we are the experts in our own body. That client is the expert in their own body. Part of it is teaching them to tune in. What is your body telling you? Where do you want to start? What feels like the path of least resistance? You want this to be a lasting change. I think it feels weird and it feels slow, which I think a lot of people are, I just want you to tell me what to do and I'll do it. And it's like, well, if that were true, I don't know if you'd need a health coach. Do you know what I mean?
And you didn't get here overnight with what you're
Right.
struggling with now, and so it's not gonna get better overnight. It takes
Right.
time.
Yes. I have a client right now who is struggling with severe bloating and getting really uncomfortable after she eats. And I'm like, okay. And I was telling her, I think we need to eliminate a few things. She's like, but for how long? And I'm like, well, we're going to have to try for at least 2 weeks to see,
At least.
at least, for you to feel a difference. And I get it. Like, we are an Amazon Prime culture. We want stuff to show up in 48 hours or what is wrong with it. And I think that's also something that we have to unlearn. You didn't get here overnight. And especially something like an autoimmune disease or with our gut health, like it could have been a kindling for a long time. And then all of a sudden, whatever you ate today poured some gasoline on it and it's ignited. But we've got to slowly work backward to get you back baseline again. And I think it's encouraging because you're in the driver's seat, you're in control. How do you want to take this? But it also can be a little discouraging because we're just not used to that. We're used to you tell me what to do and then I'll go do it. I
Right.
think that's important for people to realize with functional medicine is like, we're here to help and facilitate, but you're the expert. I'm here to help you figure out a way forward. I'm going to listen to you. It's my client. You lead me on where you think the first step should be and all of that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I've had clients when I've said things like that to them, they are very surprised and they're like, "I've never had anybody say that." And they really respect that though. It's wild. They do not realize how often that they have been told what to do and not put in the position of pay attention to your body yourself.
no, I know. I mean, in clinics, you got to get this many patients in and this many hours, and you've got 10 minutes with that person. It serves the doctor to be like, this is what to do. Do you have any questions? Bye. And we're not set up to listen and be like, how do you feel about this? Because I think we're just so used to sitting there for 10 minutes being like, what do I do? What do I do? Okay, bye. I hope
Um,
that we will continue to evolve toward more practices having health coaches on board to be that middleman.
exactly.
So,
Yeah. I will say too, whenever I was first started healing my gut and I started eliminating foods, I felt so good. I never reintroduced some of them. You don't want to. Like,
yeah.
so some people start off and they're like, "Oh, wow, how long do I have to eliminate that?" And I mean, ultimately it's up to you, but
Right.
like I'm not eating that again? I think that you just kind of have to play it by ear and see what works for you.
One of the teachers over the past year explained it in a great way. And I use this with my clients a lot. If you've always been sitting on 2 thumbtacks or five, always, and then somebody takes one away, you didn't know how good you could feel until someone took that away because they've always been there. And so I'm like, what could it feel like? I think people just think the way they feel is as good as they're going to feel. And I'm like, no, you could feel better. You could have more energy and all the things.
Yeah. I will say that for sure just really hits home for me because my biggest thing when I was working on healing my gut is I had severe stomach pain after I'd eat. I mean, it was debilitating. I would be in fetal position for hours. My stomach would it was like labor pains. It was like
Yeah. Oh,
posterior baby back labor pains, okay?
yeah.
Like the worst of the worst. And I can compare it to that because that's literally how my second one was born. It was so terrible after I ate anything. I got to where I just felt better not eating anything. That was my biggest hurdle. I just wanted to rebuild my gut, heal it, be able to eat without hurting. That was my number one thing. But whenever I healed my gut, my brain fog that I didn't realize I had went away. My skin cleared up. I did lose some weight. I had eczema. I had psoriasis. It went away. I had so much more energy. All these things that I never thought I really struggled with. right? Or just thought, oh, it's normal because my mom has this or my dad has this, right? I had no idea how bad I really felt. I think I had had gut issues my entire life because even as an elementary school child, I would have to lay down on the table after lunch because my stomach would hurt. I always had issues and I always thought it was normal because my mom had IBS. I thought it was all normal until it got significantly worse. I was really desperate to feel better.
I think that's where a lot of people have to get before taking out things that we love, like gluten and dairy.
Right, for sure. Yeah. Well, this has been a really fun episode. I feel like we could just keep talking all day.
Yeah, we could.
But thank you so much for being on the podcast
Of
today, Carter.
course. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being a part of my journey on What the Gut podcast. For a deeper dive into today's topics, head over to AllisonandWellness.com/whatthegut or find the detailed show notes linked below. Hey, and don't miss out on future episodes. Hit that subscribe button, and if you love this one, please leave me a review. Let's keep the conversation going over on Instagram. Connect with me and stay updated and engaged with my awesome community. Plus, share these valuable insights with your tribe. They deserve to feel as amazing as you do. You can find me at Allison_and_wellness on Instagram. Your support means the world to me. I'm looking forward to our next awesome chat. But until then, stay curious, don't drink too much coffee, keep the vibrant energy flowing, and take care of your gut. Catch you real soon. Oh, and hey, if you're ready to dive deeper into personalized wellness, check out my one-on-one health coaching program at AllisonandWellness.com. Let's make your journey to holistic health truly transformative.